Let's talk about a very curious and, frankly, controversial book from the 1970s. Now, on the surface, it looks like a how-to guide for an illegal drug, but when you dig a little deeper, its real story is about this fundamental clash between public safety and the law, and it brings up a huge question we are still wrestling with today.
And that quote right there gets to the absolute heart of this whole story. It's the central paradox we're going to unpack. What happens when the very information that could keep someone from getting hurt becomes forbidden?
Okay, so to even understand why a book like this ever got written, we've got to rewind to the 1970s. Cocaine use was exploding, and that created a problem that went way beyond just the drug itself.
Because the entire market was illegal, there was absolutely zero quality control. I mean, this wasn't some kind of pharmaceutical-grade product. It was a total Wild West, and that posed a serious, immediate danger to anyone who got involved.
You had dealers cutting their product with, well, pretty much anything they could to stretch their profits. Sometimes it was something harmless like lactose, but other times it was dangerous chemical adulterants. And the user had literally no way of knowing the purity or what they were actually taking. It was a true safety crisis.
And right into the middle of this chaotic, dangerous environment, an author and a publisher come along with a pretty radical idea: a user's guide.
This was the Cocaine Handbook. The author, David Lee, his stated goal wasn't to encourage drug use. He said he wanted to reduce harm. He wanted to give people tools to test what they had, to try and spot the really dangerous stuff.
You can actually see the publisher trying to make the whole thing seem more, well, legitimate over time. It starts off as the friendly-sounding Consumer's Handbook, but by 1981, it's been upgraded to a central reference. That sounds much more serious, right? Almost academic.
And get this just shows you the strategy. They actually got an official Library of Congress number for it. Now that is a bold, bold move. They were trying to frame a guide to an illegal activity as a piece of serious researched literature, hoping to move it out of the back of head shops and into mainstream bookstores.
But here's the thing. No matter how they tried to dress it up, the book just could not escape this fundamental contradiction that was baked right into the law.
So here's how the paradox plays out. Just follow the logic. The book's goal? User safety. Simple enough. To do that, it has to give practical how-to instructions. But giving someone instructions on how to handle an illegal substance is, by definition, helping them commit an illegal act. And so what happens? The safety information itself becomes forbidden contraband.
Right. That's the crucial point. There was just no way around it. Explaining how to test cocaine for dangerous cutting agents also, inevitably, explains how to prepare it for use. Under a system of prohibition, those two things were legally inseparable.
So to try and navigate this incredibly tricky territory, the handbook basically wrapped itself in the language of science. But when you look a little closer, that scientific facade, well, it starts to crumble. The whole book was really a performance of scientific authority. It was over 200 pages long. It had a full bibliography, a glossary jam-packed with technical terms like acetone and guanine. It was absolutely designed to look and feel like a credible, authoritative source.
So, with all that scientific window dressing, all that effort to seem official, what was the book's #1 highly recommended field test for checking cocaine purity?
Household bleach. I'm not kidding. The main method it promoted was called the Clorox test, and even back then, other experts were shouting from the rooftops that this test was incredibly unreliable.
To really put this in perspective, just look at the difference. The handbook's test gave users a dangerously false sense of security. Today, the gold standard is mass spectrometry, which gives you an exact molecular breakdown of a substance. This contrast really just highlights how desperate people were for any information at all, even really flawed information in a totally prohibited market.
So you might be asking, if the book's science was so bad, what's its actual value today? Well, its real significance isn't as a science text, it's as an historical artifact. We should really see the handbook less as a failed guide and more as a piece of evidence. It's a physical record of the information vacuum and the dangers that get created when a substance is pushed completely underground.
And this right here is the key takeaway. That unregulated, dangerous market didn't just exist alongside the ban. In many ways, it existed because of the ban. Prohibition created the intense demand for a book like this by making official, reliable safety information completely impossible to get.
And that brings the story of this strange little book from decades ago right into our world today.
leaving us with a very sharp and still very unresolved policy question.
This is the dilemma the Cocaine Handbook really forces us to look at. If a government bans something, does it have any responsibility to help keep the people who break that law safe? Or is withholding that kind of safety information a valid tool to discourage the behavior in the first place? Decades later, that is a question we still don't have a clear answer to.